Go Knicks. Well, dear audience, it's a new week and a new Bloomberg scoop. Studios in Microsoft's Xbox division brace for closures. Essentially, Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and several other studios are in active negotiations to spin off as they try to thwart closure. Just a couple weeks after Asha Sharma's press tour, just a couple weeks after the Xbox Games Showcase, this is what we're looking at already. And I realize this news is probably not a shocking surprise to you if you've been paying attention, and also that maybe I should wait to see how these negotiations shake out before slamming my fists on the table. So I would just like to take a moment to pivot to what I think is so weird about how Xbox is handling this situation. Look at this PNG. It's the top 10 best performing games of Summer Game Fest. Now, if you're looking at this chart and you're wondering what the Y-axis even is, come on. We're just having fun out here. The data comes from Level Up, a real-life gaming marketing analytics company. Naturally, I think anyone looking at that data might be curious how they came about coming to those mathematical conclusions. Fortunately, there were follow-up posts this last week, kicked off with this message that I'm not sure was written by a human being. A huge shout out to Jeff Keighley and the entire SGF team for putting on this annual celebration of our industry. Year after year, they deliver the magic. World premieres, explosive announcements, and a moment that unites the entire gaming community. This edition was no exception. That's kind of why I'm always hesitant to call every showcase within those 2 weeks Summer Game Fest, because SGF is just part of it. Jeff Keighley's great. He's great. He didn't make the Ocarina of Time remake happen. That was Nintendo. They were going to do that regardless of what Jeff Keighley did. Anyway, if you're wondering exactly how hype is measured, here we see best performing trailers, most press coverage by number of articles, and most engagement. Swirl all that together and you get this podium. Lao Fei 1, Zelda 2, Resident Evil Veronica 3. So the gold medal went to a game that debuted with a 20-minute gameplay blowout. Silver and bronze went to trailers that barely showed anything. In fact, it seems all you really need to crack the top 10 is just to come out and say, yeah, it's real. And maybe at this moment I should apologize for the low resolution of this image. That's just how they posted it. I believe it was created exclusively to be an ad to be included in a recent The Game Business Show interview with Xbox's brand new Chief Strategy Officer, Matthew Ball. And hey, while we're here, let's just talk about that thing for a second. Because it is a truly unique interview. One thing is the audience here is not just a bunch of game fans. No. These are people in the aforementioned game biz. So that already sets a different tone. The host, Christopher Dring, had like an awards show monologue where he's like pointing at people in the audience.
I also see right next to him, we have Remedy's new CEO, JC here. JC joined Remedy a few months ago. And because he spent time working on live service games at EA, some people became convinced he was going to force Sam Lake to turn Alan Wake into a free-to-play soccer game.
And to be fair to Christopher Dring, some of his jokes kind of killed.
There was just an enormous amount of games and announcements, and not a single one of them is coming out in November.
Just saying, it's a particular audience. And throughout the whole interview, both the host and guest seem to realize they're talking just as much to each other as they are this room of influential people.
There are several people in the front row, I'm not going to call them out individually, who will tell me there's nothing that I could know beforehand to prepare me for it.
Another weird thing, Matthew Ball, when he originally booked this interview, he was doing so merely as the world's preeminent games analyst, not as a chief strategy officer. So when he got that job, he asked his bosses, should I cancel the interview? And they said, no, why would you?
Instead, the support I had was like surprised. It was like, why would you pull out? And instead, there was a lot of support, some of the teams here today, saying, no, let's do this. Of course, we have to figure out the way to not undermine or accidentally hurt some of the teams and colleagues, which is why I'm conservative in some areas.
I don't know. It's just a whole unique setup, a whole unique vibe. Seems like you're watching some smart adults being professionally candid.
What if Nintendo announced a Zelda game tomorrow?
If they do which?
If they announce a Zelda game tomorrow.
I will pre-order it tomorrow.
And there's one particular question and answer I want to show to you, but first we must detour to Stephen Totillo's game file. So in his reporting on the potential Xbox studio closures, he had this scoop on Senua, which remember was announced just a couple of Sundays ago. By the time that game was revealed, Microsoft had already planned to sunset or split with the studio. The thinking was that the promise of a newly announced game would help draw investor interest in the studio. A source familiar with Microsoft's plans told GameFile. It's unclear if anyone at Top Ninja Theory was involved in this plan. If that's true, that is crazy. Xbox coming out secretly saying, we're not sure if we're going to sell this studio or close it entirely, but check out this trailer anyway. We don't like this, but maybe someone else will. No, we're not sure if it's going to come out at any point, but let's just promise day one on Game Pass regardless. The last question in their Xbox Wire interview is this. Is this the plan going forward? Giving people more Ninja Theory more often? Is that your plan? You planning on that? Now, to be fair, obviously, probably, that interviewer wasn't aware of Xbox's leadership's sudden disinterest in that entire studio, but it still seems cruel to allow all of that to continue as though everything is good. And it kind of matches up with how weird it was that Senua was so brazenly multi-platform. On the very day Xbox was so proud to announce moving forward with signature exclusives. It left many YouTubers, such as myself, to wonder why Clockwork Revolution, but not Senua. Christopher Dring actually asked Matthew Ball that question.
I was going to ask what makes Clockwork Revolution an Xbox console exclusive, but not Senua. But I guess is that because of those commitments you talked about to teams and before you made that decision?
No further comment.
No. Well,
yeah, that's a smirk. And at the time, you think that smirk just means I know something and I can't tell you. But I didn't think that thing was bad. You know, I thought he was thinking, oh, I wish I could say this, but marketing is tangled up with Sony. Not, I am doing my best not to give you any facial impression that we don't want Ninja Theory anymore. And I guess what I find so curious about this brand new chief strategy officer is that he's not a hire from within Microsoft, right? He was an independent game analyst out there who, you would have to assume, knew fully well how bad the Xbox game business looks right now. Here's what he said.
And so when she became CEO, she had asked if I would spend some time with her reviewing the business, thinking about where growth can come from, thinking about the mistakes that have been made, the bets that were made that didn't or did pan out. And as part of that, I came to really like Asha, really believe in her as a leader overall and as a leader for Xbox, really believe in the strategy. And then as that relationship progressed, I came to see the areas in which I could contribute. And so when she asked if I would join, it was an irresistible opportunity.
So one has to wonder what exactly he finds irresistible about Xbox's plans moving forward. Can't just be, oh man, we're going to make so many cuts. Play a fun game with me real quick. Spot the new franchise in the top 10 games of SGF. That's a classic trick question. There isn't one. But anyway, Spyro down here, I think that says Spyro. That is being developed by an indie studio, Toys for Bob, formerly not indie, formerly Activision. So Microsoft released Toys for Bob in 2024, and then they bought themselves. And that's basically what's going on with these studios this week right now. Those are the calls that they're having. Can we buy ourselves? Here's the thing. When Toys for Bob announced their independence, they said this: our friends at Activision and Microsoft have been extremely supportive of our new direction, and we're confident that we will continue to work closely together as part of our future. And I think that was just representative of the power of IP. A sure thing IP, the kind of IP that can crack the SGF top 10, where just to survive, just to keep your studio alive out there, you have to remain friends with Microsoft. Who could resist? And that's delayed input for this week. I'll be back next week at our regular time, Friday morning. Until then, thanks for watching. So something I couldn't fit in last week's video. There was a really, really funny tidbit in the previous Jason Schreier Xbox Bloomberg bombshell. Just for context, this is after talking about the late decision to make Gears of War E-Day an exclusive. Sharma and her team also pulled a Halo trailer that was due to appear at a PlayStation event last week, potentially damaging the relationship between the two companies, according to people familiar with the change of plans. That is genuinely so funny. That's ridiculous. Conventional wisdom would say the console wars are over, just show the trailer. What are you thinking? Instead, they pulled it. To me, it's the closest I've felt to actual E3 stupidity in almost 10 years. This is the good stuff. And just like the Senua thing, I believe it because the evidence is kind of all out there. Because it was already strange that the Halo trailer in the Xbox Games Showcase was just so heavily focused on just the announcement of prequel levels. And the tone and the edit especially just felt cheap for what should be an eventful release in what was once Xbox's easily most beloved and important franchise. You know what I'm saying? Like Microsoft. Halo should be like this. The logo should be gold, but then just a day after the Xbox Games Showcase, Halo posted a cinematic story trailer on the Halo YouTube channel. Look at that. Captured on PS5 Pro. And it's a much better trailer. And it makes Halo Campaign Evolved seem like a bigger deal. This probably should have been the game's debut. So yeah, it is E3 hilarious that trailer was withheld from 2.9 million live viewers just so that PlayStation couldn't get the points. Xbox is now so caught up in trying to revive the brand that they were willing to undercut the marketing campaign of what should have been a tentpole title for them just to try to win E3. And they don't care how many relationships they have to damage to do it. I don't think it's going to work out. And this is coming from someone who knows a thing or two about damaging relationships. Okay?